What's that? Oh yeah, whatever. Like,
Wait, we'll do a cut in.
Yeah, whatever.
Wait, guys, wait before.
Yes, okay. Like, subscribe, I don't know. Just
Joe, you're not doing
Do you
your job.
want me to do it? What are you? What's the line, Joe?
I think it's like, comment, subscribe. I think it is.
Okay, well, I'll lead you in.
All right.
We'll do a little fun cut back in.
All right, let's do it.
All right, we're back. Joe, you're not doing your job.
I know.
I'm
I
passing
forget.
it over to
Whatever.
Like, comment, subscribe, go to runningwarehouse.com and get your shoes.
Todd. You heard it here first.
It's like we're trying to monetize this thing. I don't care. All right, here we are. I don't even know what episode we're on.
We're on episode 13, Joe.
13.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah, lucky 13.
Lucky, yeah.
Yeah, here we are.
At least we're not on the 13th floor.
Mr. Rubio used to run the Running Warehouse podcast. Welcome. We're in Boston, Massachusetts, not Boston, California, right?
That's right.
Yes.
And, I've been waiting for this episode because our guest today brings the energy.
Yes.
He brings the passion. He brings the shoe knowledge. Every time we meet up, we have a very good time. He's been in the industry for 20 years. He has worked for a wide variety of brands, but now he's leading the charge at PUMA. And product line manager, a big deal. I am a big fan. We got Todd Falker.
Good to see you as always, Connor. And, Running Warehouse, I've been connected with you guys for, 15 of those 20 years going back as a tech rep. We used to visit when I was with Smartwool. And really, really a big fan of everything you guys do. I mean, obviously your business is what it is, but I think the way that you get information and disseminate that is amazing. And you have such a wide variety of products. It's honestly one of my favorite places to shop.
Awesome. So a little bit about your background. How did you start running? Was it high school?
Way before that. The little bit longer version of it is actually I have two older brothers that are 6 and 10 years older. So from the time I was really, really little, they were into music, and I decided to kind of choose a different path and went towards sports. Particularly my oldest brother that was 10 years older kept kind of getting cut from his baseball team when he was 14 as a freshman, and then he would come home and I was 4 years old and he was like, get the mitt, we're hitting grounders, that's what we're doing. Halfway through the summer, he moved the mitt for this hand and I had to learn to use the other hand. And so I think for me, just like sports has been a big part of it. The first time I actually started to take running seriously, I would say was in 4th grade, and there was 7:09 was the school record, and I ended up, the first time I tried to do it, I ran 7:10, missed it by 1 second. Not frustrated, but I was like, so every day I'm like, I'm going to run really, really fast out to recess and back. And that was literally, I think, my only training. One day I went to the gym teacher and said, hey, okay, I want to get that record. Like, when can we do it? And he looks down at his watch. He goes, well, I've got time right now. Let's go out. And it was a sandy dirt track. Pardon me. It was 7 laps to a mile. I still remember, and he stood there with me and he said go, and he paced me like the first 4 laps, and I was running absolutely as fast as I can, and I'm like, we were running just under 7-minute pace. I was like, how can this guy just like jog so easily with me? But 6:52 4th grade, that was kind of the beginning of my running.
Yeah.
Well, you do what you do.
And then did you run in high school, in college?
I did, yeah. So the mile continued to kind of be my thing. Got school records in the mile, the 2-mile, 2-mile relay, did all that stuff. I'm from Michigan originally.
Okay.
East Hollis is home, and went to Albion College, ran Division III, which is, you don't get scholarships, but it's a great way to stay involved. And I think for me at Albion, we had a really, really great balance between the academics and the athletic stuff. Yeah. So we had a great team, kind of a smaller school with Calvin College that was kind of dominant. They had a perfect score at nationals one year and did all that. But for myself, we kind of built up our team, Nick Mockridge, a few of us that came in as freshmen, and just continued to build. And we won a track and field conference championship, which was the first time in, I think, 11 years when we did it. And we actually took our cross-country team to nationals for D3, which was the first time since 1981, like in 25 years since the year I was born. So it's cool to stay involved with it. I ran 3:58 for 1500, which is good and is moving, but you can't exactly go pro with that,
No. And then what was your first job like out of college?
Yeah, I think for me, I really knew that I wanted to do sports from an early age and for a long time. And the fun story is I actually had an internship all set up with an accounting firm, and the guy was great. He was actually my dad's accountant and was going to let me run cross country, travel to all my races and do all this stuff. And he goes, yeah, you'll intern as a sophomore, you'll do your junior internship, and then, June of 2004, you'll come and work for me for the rest of your life. And I was like, well, wait, I'm still waiting to hear back from Nike. I've got a few resumes out to a few sports companies. And he retracted that offer, and I said, oh shoot, I got myself in a little bit of trouble here. But I knew I wanted to do sports for a long time, and so I ended up coming to Boston. Actually, 2002 was kind of my very, very beginning. And I worked for Saucony here. I did an unpaid internship, international sports and marketing, and I did a little bit more than get coffee, but that was my kind of entry in, and I interned with Saucony, and then I did Steve Madden, and I interned with Nike as well, and went out to Beaverton for a little while.
Cool. And then, when did you start getting paid?
Yeah, that's the real question that we all want to know. So those internships were up until about 2004. I went back to Michigan and got my MBA. Education's always been important to me. And actually around that time, I realized I wanted to learn a little bit more about shoes. I went back and started working retail. Worked for Gazelle Sports in Michigan.
Well,
you guys know, Ken really, really well. Yeah. And we'll kind of circle back to Michigan in a little bit. Managed Fleet Feet in St. Louis before kind of moving to more of the corporate side as a tech rep with Smartwool and Timberland. And the retail experience is super essential, I think, to anybody that wants to get into product or into the retailer side or into any of that. That experience of just fit and shoes, of having people come in, is so completely invaluable. And to this day, I still think about the end consumer almost every decision I make and the team makes. So that experience was great to be at one store or a couple stores and see so many people. To transition to that kind of tech rep, which is what I still recommend to this day, is the number one way if people want to get into product, get that a little bit of retail background, and then if you can get a tech rep, do it. I was in California, Arizona, Nevada. I had about 400 retailers. Running Warehouse was one of them, and I was going, every day or every week, 10 to 15 account visits, doing clinics, teaching people about product, learning about their business, helping, fill in if they needed some sales stuff, looking at visual merchandising. It really gives you, market knowledge, product knowledge, retailer knowledge. Tech rep is such a great way to do that, and I think that the best brands invest in that. In PUMA, when we reset running in 2021, we knew that investing in tech reps and the tech rep program was a huge part of what we needed and wanted to do. Byron Gartrell is our tech rep manager in the U.S., and PUMA, we have tech reps in nearly every country where we operate now.
Which is, it's a big deal. I would think for PUMA to get foothold in the running industry in the United States it's a big tech rep, just being in the stores.
Yeah.
Because the tech reps teach the staff about the product.
Yep.
Because the only way you're going to get it on people's feet is pull it.
Yeah, and I think for us too, we've been surprised. There's been a lot of demand for PUMA in stores, particularly in the U.S., and we could have expanded or put more pairs in quickly, but our strategy from the beginning has been to invest with retailers that we can win with and support. So it's not just putting shoes on shelves and crossing fingers, right? It's, hey, you're our partner. How can we have a tech rep in your region? How can, Brooke visit everybody down at all the stores down at Big Peach down in Atlanta, or the different ones where they are, to really have that back and forth, so that that the tech rep is talking to them, we're seating them, we're supporting them with events on a busy Saturday. The tech reps are in working the floor. I did that. It's not an easy life, but I'm so thankful for Colin and Brooke and Maximo, the ones that we have in the U.S. that are really kind of driving that right now.
So how did you bridge the gap between being a tech rep and then getting into product?
Yeah, for me, I honestly, I waited for a long time. A lot of tech reps are tech reps for 12 to 18 months, and that's great. It's a burnout job, a lot of people call it sometimes. Some people settle in, and that's good, but it's so much time on the road, and when you're traveling, it's not as easy to have community kind of where you are. For me, I was seeing somebody at the time, and we were in a good situation where that worked, but I was a tech rep for nearly 3 years. Also because I really knew that I knew I wanted a product role. And so I didn't want to do something different or get kind of off track. And I think that's another thing too, and people ask me how did you get to where you are? And I want to do that and I'm ready right now. And it's well, you have to be flexible towards what the openings are, and then you have to position yourself and keep kind of working towards that. and then you might have to be patient. And the patience is really, really hard. When I got that product job, I mean, I interned with Nike in the product line management department, so I knew what that was, and I knew that was exactly what I wanted. When I interviewed, it was actually with Ultra when they were in Utah. And the first time they said, "Oh, you're a tech rep. Okay, maybe we'll bring you in and you'll be a tech rep manager." And I was like, "Okay, that's great." A week later, they said, "Hey, we don't want a tech rep manager. We think we just want to drive sales. What do you think about sales?" And I was like, "Okay, I'm interested." And then I was going to get on that interview, and they're canceling that one again. I'm like, "Our product line manager just quit. We knew that you wanted to get into product," and for me, that was the moment that it clicked.
Cool, awesome. And how long were you with Ultra?
I was with Ultra about 4 years or so.
Okay.
Yeah, living in Utah, which was the dream. I mean, all the shoes, the Lone Peaks and the Torrens. We made a smart shoe, an IQ shoe. We did a lot of fun things. Probably the biggest two projects for me there. I debuted the Escalante.
Yeah.
That was a big project, and actually came up with the Ego foam. That was a big initiative. But that was good and bad in a lot of ways. Being there. Ultra is so ingrained in that community. They sponsor all the races. So just about every weekend you could go run a marathon or an ultra up in the mountains. And I ran Grand Canyon. I did Zion a couple times. I actually ran so much that I ended up really kind of having a lot of ankle problems because I was in the mountains too much and needed a few surgeries to get over that. But really enjoyed being with Ultra, and it was a great time when the brand was just kind of starting, right? The founders were still really involved. There was a lot of things going on. It was a good time being in Utah.
And then how long you been here? What did you go from Ultra to here?
I did.
Okay.
I did. Yeah. So I've been at PUMA about 6 years. When I came over, there were a couple different product things going, but shortly after I arrived is when we really went all in on this kind of product line reset, and specifically ended up finding Nitro Foam and built this product to what it is. And of course, when you start, there were a lot of shoes. We did 4 shoes the first season, and then added another 3 or 4, and the product line has just continued to grow. So over the last couple of years, I've been promoted a couple times and been transitioning as well. And now I have a team, Connor and Damien, I'm working quite closely with, and we're kind of dividing everything. But it's really, I think when PUMA got back into the running space, our goal was just to reset and really be as authentic to running as we could be. But I think that also meant over-indexing and really trying to be technical and making great products. So the biggest priority, the first thing that we did was went to Asia with Bob and the development team and kind of found Nitro, because we knew that we wanted to have the best foam, and that actually continues to be our main focus of our platform to this day.
So you've gotten all this experience over the years,
Yeah.
and
Quite a laundry list I went through
Right.
maybe quick.
and you're looking at a new job, and PUMA comes in the mix. Was it scary coming over to a brand that maybe isn't quite as secure as a Nike or an Adidas? How did you end up picking PUMA, and what was kind of that final factor that you're like, I'm going all in?
Yeah, that's a great point. When I came to Boston, I ended up with 3 job offers from 3 shoe companies, basically, right? And full stop. Well, there were really 2 things. One is I really just liked the people at PUMA, and that was absolutely the deciding factor. I also looked at their product line, and I had run in some of the shoes. I didn't really like them, what was there. And for me, knowing hey, I know some things about shoes, and I'm like, I have some ideas of how to improve this. I said, if I can work with great people, and then hopefully I'll get lucky and some of my ideas could be incorporated into the footwear product line process. Honestly, I was just like, I hope I can make one shoe. I hope we can make one shoe a little bit better. And then 6 or 9 months right after I got here, and I think that's a truth in life, right? You work really hard, and then sometimes you just get lucky. And I've certainly worked hard, and I built up my skills, and I did the things, and then I got extremely lucky to be in the right place at the right time with PUMA and with Nitro. But yeah, choosing based on the people. Aaron, Dan, from the first interview and from some of those things, I was like, this is a cool place where I want to be, and I think there's some opportunity to make the product better.
In talking about a cool place to be, let's transition to where we are right now. Can
Yeah.
you tell us, this obviously isn't the Running Warehouse studio. Where are we?
Yeah, not today. So we're in Boston. We're at PUMA's product center for running, training, and basketball. So the performance products are actually designed and developed and made in Boston here. And that's been going on for a couple decades. So PUMA is a German-based company. Our CEO and corporate headquarters and like all the lifestyle shoes are done and designed in Germany. But because of the design talent in the US, decades ago, they kind of set this up. And when you want to get into footwear in the US, you pretty much know you're likely to be in Portland or Boston. Those are the two hubs of most of the major brands. But PUMA's had a presence here for a long time. I mean, North America is one of our major markets. But what's cool is when they built this office, which we're in Assembly Row, so Somerville, Massachusetts, they actually brought the Westford office, which is a couple hundred people, and the design center and kind of put us all together. So they called it Project Unity, and they put us in this nice building. We're right next to the Mystic River, some good places to run. But I think one of the cool things is there's now a 40-foot cat on top of the building. Connor, do you want to look and see if you can, where's the cat?
I think I see it.
See the roof of the building you're in. But no, now I think it's cool because this is our home. People know that we're here. People driving around Boston look up and see, oh, PUMA. As my friends like to say, look, there's a leaping creature.
And that's one cool feature, but you gave us a little mini tour, and everywhere we go, there's just wild things. What are some other little Easter eggs around this building that are pretty exciting?
Yeah, amazing. We're on the 10th floor, so this is actually where, running training, product design, development, and PLM all sit. We're in the materials library because almost everything in this entire floor is off limits. We're in the April of 2024. All of our samples right now are mostly autumn, winter 2025 or spring, summer 26, because we're always working a year and a half, even more into the future. Some of the cool things, we do have a full gym, the Bolt Gym, where, there's a nice workout facility. We do have an employee-only employee store. But I think the coolest thing is just that we now have kind of this community where the merchandisers or the sales or, Molly, Dakota, and Edna were here because we're running the marathon and doing some different activations. And on the 7th floor last week, they actually had a big kind of town hall and had a couple hundred people watching them and stuff. So,
well, my favorite part.
Yeah, didn't you race?
We got a track right outside of this room.
We sure did. I forgot.
Me, you, and Dakota raced. I was the fastest off the line. I think Dakota had the fastest ending speed.
Of course she did.
And you led up the back, but you came in hot, and I think you almost went through the wall.
The best thing that I knew how to do was I'm like, Connor, you don't get out of blocks like this. You get right down next to the line. That was my moment in the sun.
I'm a distance runner.
I'm also, but I think in your honor, I think we need to buy 3 sets of blocks and put them there. And you're the expert, right? How are we supposed to get out of the blocks, Jeff?
Well, you put your hands on the starting line, you get your knees right on the starting line, and then you have your dominant leg, you put your butt up, and you step back with your weak leg.
Yeah.
And there you go.
What if you're not very flexible, Joe?
Well, that's me. I can't get in blocks anymore.
To be honest, when you said that, I was like, oh, dominant leg forward. I learned that just from you today.
Really?
That was I was like, oh yeah, which one do I go with? Oh.
Well, when you're coaching track, like you're a head track coach,
yeah,
you need to know a little bit about everything.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Otherwise, the kid's hosed.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Where were you head coach at?
I was a sprint coach and distance coach at Cuesta College.
Okay.
In San Luis Obispo. So,
okay.
But.
And now he's the head coach of the Hoka Aggies.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
I have that going on. But that's not nearly as difficult as coaching a bunch of kids that are kind of off the tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the funny stories is back when I was coaching at Cuesta, we were at the state meet, and the sprinters came up and said, Coach, do we have to watch the forever? I go, what are you talking about? I go, the next race is the 10,000. And they go, do we have to watch the forever? I said, yes, you have to watch your teammates run the forever.
Oh my God.
And I told that to John Truax and Todd Lewis.
Yep.
At Nike.
And I actually worked with both of them. I know them quite well.
Remember the forever?
The track spike?
It was a remake of the waffle.
Okay.
That's where that came from.
I don't remember the shoe actually, but
Nike might owe Joe a little bit of money,
well,
right?
No, they told me to give me $1 a shoe, but I never saw the damn money. But anyways,
never got it on paper.
That's the story of the forever.
$1 a shoe is a lot.
I
would check with the developer on that.
So you're coming up on a pretty significant milestone for you for running.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, racing the mile, I was mediocre to good, right? But you're not good enough to go pro. I had actually Brooks Hanson's, my pastor at my old church ran for them, and he was like, Todd, you need to go do the Boston Marathon. And I was like, Reed, why do I need to do that? He goes, if you ever tell people you're a runner, they're going to ask you two questions. First one they're going to say is, did you run a marathon? And the second question is always going to be, did you run the Boston Marathon? I go, fine, Reed, I'll go run the Boston Marathon. How far is 26 miles? I probably said, right? I didn't know. And he goes, well, Todd, you can't just go run the Boston Marathon. I go, what do you mean? He goes, you have to qualify. I go, so I have to run 2 marathons? He got me looped in, and to be honest, I never reached the potential that I wanted to in the marathon. Like a lot of the guys that I was, faster than in college, running 230s, 220s. I was a 240 guy. I never went much faster than that. And every year I kept trying to get, a little bit closer. I had one year, I did Bayshore in Michigan, and I trained so hard all year, and I PR'd by 9 seconds. And I was like, is this what we're doing? Is this what this sport is? And then after I was like, okay, I'm not going to get so much faster. I was like, I want to try to win a marathon. Where's the easiest one? Or how can I cherry pick something? The closest I ever got, I was 4th in New Hampshire, I think. But yeah, and I just kept kind of going at it. And after 8 of those, I was like, okay, marathons are cool. Road marathons are cool. And I was working at Gazelle at the time, and Marshall Randall, my store manager, was like, hey, there's this race in Indiana. It's 3 times around a lake. It's 11 miles. It's a 50K. He's like, I think you could be good at that. And I was like, I don't know, what? Why? What am I doing? Well, and I just finished a marathon in October. It was 2 months, and I was like, I'll do 2 long runs, and you go out and do it. And I still remember when I drove down with my best friend Andy, and we woke up in the morning. He opens the door, and there was about 8 inches of snow. It was one of those things where the snow's coming in. And he looks at me, and he looks at the snow, and he goes, Todd, I knew there's a reason we shouldn't be doing an ultra marathon in Indiana in December. But honestly, I strapped on my shoes, actually screwed spikes in the bottom of it. By the way, it was 3 times 11 is 33 miles, which is even more than a 50K. I didn't know at the time. I absolutely had the time of my life, and Andy will tell you, I was hooping and hollering at the end. I was like, yeah, this is great. So from getting tricked into marathons to getting kind of tricked into ultras, I just kind of keep going, and I just keep looking for the next challenge, and that's where I am right now as well.
So what number are you on?
Yeah, so I just did number 99. So for my 100th marathon, I wanted to go back to my roots, to something that inspired me literally from my earliest age. So I'm from East Tawas. We have a hunting camp about a half mile north, and my mom and I, from the time I was little, used to run from the building. We'd run to the gate, right, which was 200 meters, because you always had to lock the gate. So my dad would drive and we would run. And it went from 200 meters to, okay, could we run all the way out to the main road, which was 3/4 of a mile. And then finally, one time a couple years ago, I ran the 30 miles home. But basically, there's little parts of this trail that connect across the entire top of Michigan called the Shore to Shore Trail. So my plan and my goal is to run from Empire to Oscoda, or Traverse to Taos, as we're calling it, but the entire top of Michigan from west to east, which is about 225 miles, or 362K.
Nice.
That's the goal.
What's your limit? How far are you going to go before you're like, that's enough?
I don't know. I wanted to do something big for 100, but I don't, there's so much inspiration in the world, and I just keep trying to find it and chase it. And that is something that's really, there used to be no 200-mile races. Now there's 5 or 6 of them. I've got a buddy that goes and wins all of them. I don't want to go do Moab or one of those things. This is kind of, for me, it's a personal project. To be honest, whenever I travel, I like to do ultras and long races just as a way to see the country. I was down in New Zealand and did Tarawera, the 100-miler in February, and people are like, you're a long ways from home, you're jet lagged. I'm like, this is a great way to kind of see so much of the terrain. And for me, Michigan is very personal. It's where I grew up, and it'll be just awesome. Honestly, I just want to see the trail. That's a good motivation to just kind of keep you going. But I'm not necessarily masochist. I'm like, oh, we just need to keep hurting ourselves. But when you find inspiration, I like to try and chase it.
And you can't forget, though, the first time we met, we were traveling. We were in Texas.
That's right.
We had a fun night at the Brooks party. You're up, I think I slept in till 10 a.m. the next morning.
Yeah.
You're up early.
Yeah.
You had another ultra marathon.
We had way too much fun on a Thursday night. Friday I drove from Austin down to Houston, and I did run 100 miles the next day. Took me about 40 miles to
get in your groove?
To wash out the fun from before. But yeah, it's whatever inspires people. I mean, and I remember when I was doing the mile and I was like, oh, I don't know if I can go further, if I should. And then you do a marathon and you're like, what's beyond that? And at some point you see a theme, right? And you're like, okay, I'm going to keep going longer. But some people can run, some people can bike, some people can do a lot of things. I'm not recommending people that need to go do 100-milers or crazy long things, but if you find something that inspires you and you want to keep chasing it, that's how I live my life, and I encourage, I think, anyone to do what they feel passionate about.
So this past week I was in Chamonix in France.
Yeah.
Home of the UTMB. Have you done that? Or do you have any plans on doing that?
It's on the bucket list.
Yes.
It's probably in like 8th, 9th, 10th position. Okay. I have a few other things. I'm from Michigan. Michigan is very flat, 225 miles. There's less than 5,000 feet of elevation gain. There's going to be a lot of sand, so there will be some crazy challenges to it. But UTMB has 10,000 meters, 30,000 feet of gain. And I know this a little bit personally in the U.S. Like we switch back, right? Like we find our way up. In Europe, I guess they don't really believe in switchbacks. They just go straight up and straight down. And I'm not actually a mountain goat when it comes to that stuff. I like a little bit faster running and a little bit flatter stuff, but everybody's got their niche.
Yeah.
And for these types of races, how do you go about picking your shoes? Do you have like your go-to, or are you bringing a wide variety for whatever comes in your way?
Yeah, I mean, I like to have a different shoe every 30 miles just in case. I don't know why, it's just like what it roughly works out. For a 100-miler, I almost always change 2 or 3 times. I've got 7 pairs in my rotation for this 200, and we'll see. I think considering terrain, right? If you're gonna be kind of off kilter, you want some lugs or a little bit of good traction. I think cushioning can be important, but sometimes just mixing it up a little bit. If you run so far, like any ultramarathon, you can always get blisters or have issues. So sometimes even just getting a different foot on your shoe can actually help you with that. But I have a certain type of body glide that's like a game changer for me. So
now, on a little bit of shoe talk, let's transition over to PUMA shoes, because there has been so much excitement from when we first started hearing about PUMA coming back to today. Wow, there's been such a big jump in foams, in technology, and just in wild design. I mean, I feel like when I think of the craziest shoes right now, PUMA comes to mind. So give us a little bit of a run through of these last couple years and how the product has transitioned and evolved.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, from the beginning, the goal was to balance consistency with innovation. So, you have your everyday running shoes, and we want to make sure that those are the most comfortable, cushioned, and just kind of best fitting for everyone. We have 3 franchises in that zone. So the Deviate is our performance or our speed shoe. We want you to wear that shoe and kind of feel fast. And it's a max cushion shoe, the 40 mils, but it does have a carbon composite plate if you want kind of a little bit of propulsion. Deviates for speed. Velocity Nitro is the one that I recommend to people if they haven't tried a PUMA. It's just kind of our regular daily trainer. Good cushion with the Nitro, good durability, a little bit of stability, kind of a do everything. And then the third one is the Forever Run Nitro, which is a little bit more of a guidance or support story. But every day kind of having that be steady and stable with really good technology, right, with that Nitro, and then really pushing the envelope, as you said, on race day. We have a lot of fun, but we're looking at kind of people's different strides and trying to build shoes that will work best for kind of each person.
And we talked a lot with Dakota recently, but I'm sure all your athletes are always trying to dial in what's the best shoe for them to get max efficiencies on race day. We've got 2 really amazing options now. How are you guys working with these athletes to dial in what is the best shoe for them?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is, if you have the best foam, the foam's going to go in every shoe, and that's going to be good for everyone, right? So that's why Nitro for every day, Nitro Elite for race day. Those are the best foams that we can find, and we've tested kind of over 600 different versions. Specifically, the Nitro Elite is the absolute best, and then the Nitro is really, really good kind of in that balancing of different kind of specs and parameters. But Nitro being everywhere, and then when it comes to the Elite foam, there's kind of 3 stages to our testing and validation. Phase 1 is just looking at the foam, the bounciness, the metrics, whatever that is, in kind of a pure foam situation. The second one is looking at the entire shoe, so not just like flat foam, as my little my little block, right? Not just flat foam, but then looking at the foam inside of a shoe and saying, mechanically using the machine, how well does the shoe cushion and how much energy return does that give you? But then the third thing is actually putting it on somebody in the lab, right? And then you're looking at their stride, you're looking at their form, and like something like Fast R2 is really designed for somebody that lands more midfoot to forefoot. So aligning the shoe and the product with somebody's gait. And so with this shoe, if you're landing, kind of more midfoot, forefoot, doing a rock back and then going forward, those people sometimes have more of like a track and field background as well. So they're used to running in spikes. And this shoe with Fast R is specifically built for kind of a little bit longer stride. But the Deviate Elite is certainly a great shoe that we call our proven winner. Molly has the Olympic bronze in this. Maybe the lighter weight one for somebody that runs with a higher cadence or turnover.
And you can't forget, obviously, there was athletes wearing both at the trials, but Fiona and Dakota both rocking the Elite 3. And wow, I mean, did you see that coming? I think going into that race, when we heard Molly wasn't going to be a part of it, we thought, okay, a Nike, a Saucony athlete are going to come in and take it. PUMA. Two athletes.
Yeah, it's tough and interesting being on the brand side because we're always working in the future and trying to make better shoes, but you also just can't get addicted to the future, right? 2 years from now, everything will be better. When we saw the first prototype of this shoe, we knew it was going to be good right away. We wanted to kind of just give it to our few athletes as a test and to continue to get more feedback, because you can do stuff in the lab and you can estimate marathon pace and effort, but you're only looking at it for 5 minutes, right? You're not getting that 2-hour 21, 2-hour 23 full test. So the Olympic trials were a place where we tested all the athletes in both of these shoes and then kind of let them pick their favorite and also gave them the data. But both of those girls, obviously chose the Deviate Elite 3, and our small little leak went pretty big when Fiona, crossed the line first and Dakota had a great finish. But I think how we felt about it, I think I and a lot of us knew Fiona had a lot of potential. She ran one of the fastest debut half marathons ever. But when somebody hasn't done a marathon, you don't know what exactly their potential is, and she blew it out of the water, and I can't wait to see what she does at the Olympics and in her second marathon. Dakota, on the other hand, had run 15 or 20 marathons.
Yeah, she'd done a bunch of them.
Yeah, and she'd won Grandma's a bunch of times and was really good and consistent. We know with the gains in a running economy, the shoe can help people run a little bit faster. Now they're still doing the training and they're getting in shape and they're really putting in the effort. But if we can know that a shoe or a foam or a product can give them even just a little bit of help and benefit, we want to not have the shoe hold them back, right? Let them really chase their dreams. And I think with Dakota specifically, the way that she was able to, just outlast some of those competitors by just a few seconds to make the Olympic team, I'm so happy for her and proud of her. And I think the whole team at PUMA is glad that our shoe just maybe helped give it a little bit of a different boost that could have made a difference.
And I get excited when the underdog comes into a race, and the Olympic trials are all about making your dreams come true, and that's the perfect story.
Totally.
And just a really awesome person. We talked with her a little bit the other day, and it sounds like training's going really well, and she's really interested in the shoes. That's what I like, is when pros are thinking about the shoes, they're thinking about the technology, and she talked about how she could pick either of these shoes. Elite was obviously what she ended up picking for trials.
Yep.
But she talked about how much she enjoys the Fast R, and she said sometimes she has to think a little bit more about the shoe because it is a little bit different of a shoe, but she likes it for the faster efforts. And maybe you can guide us a little bit more with your background on some of the different parts of the shoe that really you don't see on any other shoe in the market, specifically that extended forefoot.
Yeah, Dakota's an interesting one because I'm not sure, she smiles a lot while she runs, which when you're running that fast and still smiling, you're different. She used this for the marathon. I believe that she ran the BAA 5K in the Fast R2. I think, compared to the previous one, the key updates, so again, designed for a midfoot to forefoot striker, the first shoe had a firmer heel, so you would land, kind of rock back, and then just jet forward real quick. But we heard from some people hey, maybe I have a different stride and I still want to use the shoe, or I'm landing kind of more on that heel. So we not only went from the EVA to using the full Nitro Elite heel, but we actually added 4 millimeters of cushioning. So we went from 36 to the full 40. So if you land here, you can kind of rock it and propel yourself forward. If you're still doing that 4-foot rock back forward, that works as well. And just trying to make this kind of our longer stride, more propulsive shoe, particularly with the extended carbon fiber power plate here, but to make it also a little bit more democratic so the Fast R2 will work for more people.
And again, me and Joe have talked about that we're surprised we haven't seen more people enter this space of these extended 4-foots to widen up or extend that stride.
Yeah.
Is there a limit? Have you guys done testing of how far you can bring it out before it starts getting, diminishing returns?
Yeah, so I mean, whenever we do crazy innovative designs, which our innovation team in Germany does a lot, we definitely protect that from an IP perspective, so there certainly is protection. I don't know so much about how far out. We experimented with 3 or 4 different shapes and looked at running economy and like the location of it and then the length of it, and kind of settled on a distance that wasn't too crazy, but was also kind of pushing boundaries. And yeah, we really feel like we've hit kind of the perfect version of that. But as always, once a shoe comes to market, you need to know by this point, right? My mind is on the next one and maybe the one after that. And usually we already have that next sample in hand and are working into the future. So we have some ideas of ways to make the shoe maybe even better and more optimized. But I think that's one of the defining aspects of this Fast R2, that it does make somebody stride a little bit longer. The research shows over the course of a full marathon that you'll take about 40 steps less. And that's not any more effort or energy. That's just simply you're getting a little bit more with each step because of the geometry of the shoe, and then you get to the finish line a little bit quicker.
You and I were in Paris last week, and some of the athletes, marathoners, were really stoked on the new foam.
Yep.
On the
new Nitro Elite.
Yeah. Can you speak about that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, we've tested that a lot to come up with. Basically, there've been a lot of foams in history, right? And it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I think right now there's kind of a generally agreed, like, oh, this one certain foam or brand or thing is the best in the industry.
Yeah.
And Todd, can I just say, when we say Nitro Elite, we keep bringing that up.
Yeah.
Nitro Elite has evolved over the years. It's not necessarily the same foam year after year.
Yep, exactly. Both Nitro and Nitro Elite, that's true. For PUMA, I think in the past we've had a lot of different product launches, and I think people get sometimes confused when the name's always changing and what's my favorite shoe and what's the foam from this brand, and I used to like this, what's this new one? I think for us, we want to stay really consistent with Nitro and Nitro Elite everyday race day. That makes sense. But when we can make small, slight product tweaks and improvements, we want to be able to do that while still keeping the soul and kind of the feel of a shoe or of a foam the same. So yeah, I mean, the new Nitro Elite is one of our most tested foams ever. We feel confident it's as good as, if not the best foam in the history of running shoes, to be honest. And I think, from a results perspective, I'm excited to see the next Olympics coming up. But, anybody's welcome to get the shoes and go in a lab and run, and anybody can test their running economy. There's so many different shoes and so many different gait patterns, though. It's tough to kind of line all that stuff up. That's where you have to do kind of a lot of testing and then average those values out to get it. But we feel 100% confident this Nitro Elite is the best thing we could do and find, and I think it's an industry game changer.
Well, when I was in Paris with you guys, you had a video on, you guys are actually going to molecular level.
Sure.
On the foams.
Oh yeah.
And genetically designing.
Yes.
Right, designer foams.
Yeah, well, a foam is just a lot of little cells, right? And the more you can tell, which, well, I don't, but the experts know which cells are like the best ones. It's like a bouncy ball. We think of it as big, but if you had a zillion little bouncy balls, well, guess what? If you had the absolute best one and then you could repeat that, that's what's going to be the best foam. And a lot of when you have different shapes, right? When you have maybe a thicker part or a thinner part and you're expanding it, those cell structures aren't going to be really consistent. But when you find a way to kind of find that best cell structure and then repeat it and then put that into a shoe, that's kind of the genesis of, from a processing standpoint, why our new Nitro Elite is better. And then we did, with this new aliphatic TPU, did find that next generation in terms of raw materials. And it's with any innovation, there's some complications and some drawbacks, but yeah, we feel really, really good about our newest foam for sure.
So this is a TPU. Now in the past, TPU was negative because it was heavy.
You're 100% right. And that's where this new process allows us to keep. TPU is always heavy, but it also has more bounce, kind of by
For a
definition.
longer period of time.
Exactly, because there's a little bit more of a rubberized compound, and we can look at the Young's modulus and all the materials in the world and where the TPUs fall. But the innovation team innovated this aliphatic version, so I think you're getting two things. You're keeping that bounce, but you're able with this new process to get the really light weight. And then the best thing about this is, people can look at energy return numbers, and you can say that just one time. We not only looked at that, but we actually looked over the course of an entire marathon. In our foam, the degradation it maintains 86% of its bounce from the beginning to the end of a marathon. And I should have maybe some comp values to help you understand how good that is. But most other foams get much lower, and by the end of a marathon, you're not getting the same bounce. With our new Nitro Elite, you're getting nearly the same bounce from the very beginning to the very end. And that's an industry game changer. It's a techie thing that's a little bit difficult to talk about. But if anybody's ever run a marathon, you know how you feel. You feel a little bit dead towards the end, and the shoes help, kind of keep that springiness in your legs.
Yeah, I mean, having that last 6 miles feeling good is a huge game changer, because that's where the race starts.
Absolutely.
Now, we talk about DBA Nitro Elite 3, then going a little bit crazier with Fast R2. We even talk about Berserker Spike. With all of this, it's crazy. It's wild. PUMA is pushing the limits, and I really enjoy that, because I don't like brands that just play not to lose. I want creativity, I want innovation, and that's what really creates market leaders.
Yep.
So my final question, how wild are we gonna get? Is there something even crazier than Fast Start 2 in the works?
I mean, PUMA, we've been the challenger brand for a long time. You look at the way that, football or soccer, we re-entered 10 or so years ago, the way we kind of came back with basketball 5-6 years ago with Mello, doing things a little bit different and engaging, and even our approach to running the last 2 to 3 years has been, we have that consistency piece, but we're definitely pushing innovation and pushing boundaries because we are the forever faster brand. And I think, there's all these World Athletics rules, right? And we're talking about 40 millimeters, we're talking about plates and shapes and geometries. One of the ideas that, the innovation team and I came up with was, well, there's all these rules. What if we just broke the rules? What if we just pushed the boundaries beyond where they could go? What if we put 3 plates in a shoe and didn't limit it to 40, but went up a little bit higher? I'm guessing you're referring to this Fast RB. Do you know what RB stands for?
Rebound?
Rule breaker. Rule breaker.
We
Yeah, we basically broke the rules. No, the idea was plates, you can do certain things, right? Plates can distribute energy and make the most efficient use of form. They can also propel you a lot forward. Certainly a lightweight shoe can give a certain type of benefit, but if you have a lightweight benefit, you can have a propulsive benefit. You can also have a rebound benefit. So our goal here was to give the most cushion and then the most rebound. And from a technical standpoint, the way we look at that is called a hysteresis curve. So it usually goes up and down, and the up is the loading or the amount of cushioning, and then the down is the unloading or the rebound. And basically we found that we were able to store more energy with the Fast RB and then return more energy. And it's not legally approved. You can't actually use this shoe in a race. I think for me, what I actually love about this shoe is, it looks a little bit crazy, and I'll let you hold it, Joe. But it actually works. There is a full carbon fiber firm plate right next to your foot. So you stand on it and it does feel, like a supportive normal shoe. And actually, fun fact is that one's carbon fiber, the other 2 are TPU. We did a first sample where all 3 were carbon fiber, and it was almost like being in a sports car. You're getting too much road feedback, especially with people with different strides. So the bottom 2 are TPU to get a little bit more attenuation. But this allowed us to do a couple things, not only experiment with the bounce and the foams, but then from a shape standpoint, we experimented with a bunch of different shapes, and we were talking about cell structure and different things, just to kind of learn, right? If you innovate, even if you go too far, you can figure out what works and what doesn't. And this isn't a shoe that's going to be everywhere. We're at $350 in the U.S. It's an interesting one, and Running Warehouse, you guys will have a few RBs to sell. But I actually like running in the shoe. It feels really kind of good and bouncy, and it feels stable. Even though you've got 55 mils in the heel, it's not wobbly at all, which is cool.
And it doesn't even have laces.
I mean, we wanted to push another boundary, you know, and we haven't done a laceless racer yet, but maybe that's something that comes next. I don't know.
It seemed like it'd be more aerodynamic, which might be a thing.
Yeah, from a shoe building perspective, the challenge is getting the right amount of stretch so that you feel locked in and supportive, but not having it, you know, too stretchy where you don't feel in there. So
yeah, and you know, when we see this wild and crazy technology, I imagine, again, you bring up the point of very limited pairs. This isn't going to be an everyone shoe. Does some of this technology then eventually trickle on over into the racing shoes, the daily training shoes, and really just all the models to get those little efficiency benefits in a more democratic shoe?
Yeah, it's a challenge to balance the innovation with the consistency, as I said. I think race day is a place where we can play. People want us to play and be fun, whether it's bold colors, right, or bold designs. But I think for everyday shoes, there's kind of a different need, and we know there's a bell curve, right? There's a range of consumers. Some people are way out on the far out innovative space, and I think that's actually, you guys have a lot of those customers at Running Warehouse that want something new and cool and fun and visually disruptive. But there's also people that are like, hey, I don't want crazy things, I want normal things. And for us to look at kind of that whole bell curve of all the different people and provide them different shoe and footwear options is our goal. But race day is a place for us to, kind of fun and learn a little bit, and then we can kind of roll that down as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's so great to see where PUMA has come in the last few years. I mean, obviously PUMA has that brand history, that legacy. Just going around this building, you've shown us some of the historic pieces over the years. You even let me wear an Olympic medal. Thank you for that.
It was a fake off eBay, but you know.
But no, I mean, I'm just excited for the future of PUMA. You're a brand that is willing to take risks, and I mean, I think you're going to be a player, and we're going to start seeing you not only on the feet of the pros, but on the feet of everyone at major races, and it's just an exciting time, and I feel like you're leading the charge.
Well, you know, we didn't get there by ourselves, right? From the very beginning, we found the best retail partners globally, actually. Before we launched a single shoe, Aaron and I and a few of us, we traveled to 5 different countries, met with 5 different, Joes of the world, right? People that have been making shoes or in and around the sport for over 30 years or owning stores, and showed them the first products and got, a lot of feedback. And that's actually something that we've continued to do from the beginning to where we are now. And actually, we were in Paris last week.
How many dealers did you have? And there's only 4 from the U.S. and we were in Paris.
Yeah.
I mean, you had over 100 people.
Yeah, we did. I mean, it was nearly 200, and I will say half of that was also PUMA. But I think that's really good and important too, because we want to be internally aligned, right, where we all understand the vision and have that same thing. But no, for us, it really is about building great product. That's always where it starts, and the next step is building relationships with retailers and wholesale. Because we don't want to be a big direct-to-consumer brand. That's a piece of what we do, but we're really focused on those retailer relationships so that we can get product feedback and grow together. Because we're PUMA. What we do best is build product, right, and market. But what you as a retailer do best is sell shoes and connect with consumers. So we want to continue to get that feedback, improve our product, but really support you guys.
Yeah, you guys are bound to have success here. I mean, just how big PUMA is and how dedicated you guys are to the running space.
And what I love too is, I mean, we talked about my background coming from kind of other brands or having been in the running space and running industry or running as a sport for a long time. We have a lot of people at this brand that have similar backgrounds and very passionate runners or have been at other brands or have, kind of brought that industry experience. But what I love about PUMA is that we're building actually a running culture where we care. I mean, it was Boston Marathon weekend. You should see the text threads that we have where everybody's watching, and a lot of people ran the 5K, a lot of people ran the marathon. We're just all interested and involved, and running at the end of the day is really a community, and we know we're kind of at the beginning of getting back into that, but we think we're on the right trajectory, and we also know that it's a marathon, not a sprint, to use the line. So it's something that we have to be consistent at and continue to win people over. But by making great product and building great relationships, we'll do that.
You guys are doing a great job.
So what's the future like? We've got a big race. You got your final marathon coming up. Maybe we'll have to reconnect in the future to see how that goes. But can you give us just maybe some little sneak peeks to close us out today?
I mean, for me, I'm laser focused on the 4-day challenge or 3 or 4 day challenge that I have. Honestly, I haven't really thought beyond day one. I want to get out there and get like 60 to 80 miles in, and then go as far as I can without like hurting myself or doing anything, and then get a little bit of rest and keep going. And we'll see what comes after that. I think for PUMA, it's similar. Like, we're at the end of what we're calling phase 1, right? We relaunched in 2021, the Olympics. 24 is an Olympic year. We're already looking out to 2028 and even beyond that, from a product perspective, but also from a brand perspective, and who we want to be, what we want to stand for. Can't always tell you what's next, right? Like, I don't know. It's not like, oh, okay, I did a 100-miler, a 200, and the next is 4. Like, life doesn't always work like that. But I think for me personally, staying like true to what inspires me and chasing that is what I'm going to continue to do. And I think for PUMA, staying authentic to the running space and doing what makes sense, and getting in touch with consumers. When we put shoes on feet, people like the product, like it works. And so people watching, or people at an expo, or people at your store or anywhere, put the shoes on and try and go running. People are liking PUMA, and I think for us to just continue to communicate and stay a part of the community is how we win going forward.
Well, why I wanted to talk today was I wanted our customers to see the energy that you bring to the sport. Because every time we meet up, we've met up 3 or 4 times in the past year, I just leave with so much excitement. And you're one of the people in the industry that just really, like, you give this feeling that there is a lot more to come. We are going to push limits. And I don't know, that's what gets me excited.
Yeah, me too. And the thing is in Paris last weekend, it just elevated the brand in my mind significantly. You guys did such a good job, and just portraying the vision that you guys have. And you just go, there's no way that this doesn't work. There's no way that this doesn't work.
Yeah, Connor, I truly believe energy is infectious, and you have that as well, and I think that's why we do that. For me, with Connor and Damien, that are the other POMs managing the line with me now, and even with Dan, we call it Run Squad. We all get together, and you want to talk about energy and passion coming out, but with my team, and I think with the larger PUMA fam, we all have that of being competitive and wanting to do well and win. But thanks for saying that. That's cool. And when you love what you do, you don't have to work, right?
Awesome, sweet. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for being here, and good to see you.
Thanks, Todd.
Cool.
Peace out.